everyone, and welcome to Tuesday. Uncuckables is finally back. It is just after 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time. We are live on the Uncuckables YouTube channel. I'm Tim Wilms, editor of The Unshackled, down here in southeast Melbourne. I've got my Tuesday night mate here, Reg Penney from Sydney. Sorry that we've missed the last couple of Tuesdays, but you've been patient, so it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too again, Tim.
And we've also got making his Uncuckables debut from the northwest of Melbourne, YouTuber and patriot Johnny Moore. How are you?
Good, Tim. Thanks for having me on the show. Good to be here with you too, Reg.
Yep, it's good to see you again, mate.
And we are also live on Entropy, which is the YouTube enhanced software. So you can come on over, click on the link. You can ask any of us a question, send through a super chat, or our poll question, which I think probably the most appropriate poll question for tonight is George Pell innocent?
Is George Pell innocent?
Yes or no? Did the High Court get it right? But before we get into that, I'll allow you, Johnny, to introduce yourself to our audience, because you were quite active at the Patriot events during 2018 when the scene was quite active. It's obviously there was less going on in 2019, and there's nothing going on now because public gatherings are banned. But why don't you give our audience a brief introduction?
Oh yeah, that's advice for you. All right, so g'day everyone. I'm Johnny Moore here. I identify as a traditional conservative. Yeah, as Tim was saying, I was pretty active in 2018. I came out in the spotlight, started making a bit of videos, started getting my channel up and going. Got a lot of views when I recorded that night at Nigel Farage when he came over here to Melbourne. It went on the news, 9 News, 10 News. They took my footage, put it up there, and until then, I've just been out to public rallies. I've been out in anti-abortion rallies. I've been to patriot rallies where you're waving Australian flags here and there. I've done a couple of live streams with the Unshackled. Also done a live stream with a friend and fellow conservative and sister in Christ, Dia Beltran. And here I am now, making my first debut on the Uncuckables, and looking forward to this great night.
Everyone is just coming over from the latest James Fox Higgins stream, where he had 2 hours with Mark Collett, the original British patriot who's been active in the scene for the past 20 years, first with the British National Party and now with his new patriot group, Patriotic Alternative. I'm having, I would say his main colleague in Patriotic Alternative, Laura Towler, on my Wilmsfront program next Monday, introducing her to our audiences here. But it was quite as I said in the comments myself, a meeting of the minds between Mark and James. And I notice that Mark has got his head relatively shaved. There's just the black spots there now. I call it I called it in the chat the Naz cut, because it's the style that he had when he was in his 20s.
Yeah, getting a bit of a crew cut up and running, eh?
Senator Slayer has said, "Who's the skinhead on the right?" Because your hair is there's not much there, Johnny, or is that a receding hairline?
No, that's just a receding hairline, mate. What are you talking about? I'm pretty good, mate. Could be worse. What are you asking me, to get some hair transplants? You can be my personal doctor.
I wonder if he'd be classified as an essential service.
Oh, mate. Oh, yeah, I know who just to talk to on that one. Nah, it's all good. No, it's all good.
I know
First
that.
time. It's my first time having my hair this short though. It's not like anyone's going out. I've got mates who have been cutting their hair this short, getting a bit of a shave in here and there. It's just the
I'll
virus.
shave
We're
my,
not going back out. Hair grows pretty fast. Well, you
I'll
shave
shave my hair.
yours.
Yeah, I'll shave my own hair.
Yeah, you've had the Naz cut a few times, Reg.
Yeah.
I call it a Naz cut to distinguish it from a fash cut, which is where you have the fringe up there. I know that what is it? Versace Cowboy is in the chat. He's probably the main, I would say, trendsetter for the fash cut in Australia. Obviously, if you have the Naz cut, it doesn't mean you're a Nazi. It just there's the stereotypical skinhead look. Just because some of a certain type have it doesn't mean that you are one. But hey, it's just an expression, as they say.
Yeah, true enough.
All right, let's get into, well, it wasn't coronavirus that was dominating the news today. It was Catholic Cardinal George Pell had his historical conviction for child sex crimes quashed by the High Court of Australia after he was found guilty by a jury in Victoria's County Court and sentenced to 6 years in prison by Chief Judge of the County Court, Peter Kidd. He was released today. George Pell, it was a 7-0 decision by the full bench of the High Court to quash his conviction, and he was released from Barwon Prison today, having served 404 days in prison for a crime that he's now been exonerated for. And I saw the Bolt report tonight. Andrew Bolt, he's described himself as not a defender of Cardinal Pell, but of justice, because this crime was supposed to have taken place on Sunday mass in between 5 or 7 minutes in a room where Pell was supposed to have assaulted 2 altar boys, when he couldn't have been there when he was supposed to be out the front greeting parishioners. And it was all based on the sole testimony and believability of the surviving victim. So it was basically he said, which of course we know these days, when it's one person's word against another, that shouldn't be the basis on when you convict somebody.
Yeah. It's been pretty rough with him. I mean, as you've seen on the news, he's required a heavy police presence, and he's finally out of jail now. So he's just got to go through some new transitions, just so he can maybe go back to being a priest or something. He might get back to work. He's last year I was sort of in the middle. I didn't know what to think of him at first, because the public, they were outraged. They hated Pell. They called him evil. They called him basically a demon. But I sort of jumped on board with that, but at the same time, not really, because I sort of had my doubts. But now, it's just, I haven't seen him, raped any kids in prison. I haven't seen him done anything, bad in prison. I haven't heard about that. But people were just glad he was locked up. And I've heard people conspiring about him, people making conspiracies that they hate him because, he's one of the high-profile figures in Australia, especially when it comes to politics or social issues, conservatism, or, being against gay marriage. He stood up against all that, and more people out there who don't care about politics, but, that are very liberal in nature, even though they're apathetic, they're going to hate him in an instant, especially being a Catholic. A lot of Catholic priests get shit for it because, obviously they have a history of molesting kids, sexually abusing them. Some still do. They still do. I'm not going to deny that. And as a Catholic myself, I'm not for that. But based on popular opinion from last year, I sort of let myself get swayed by that a little bit, and then now I think he's innocent because there's not enough evidence to convict. There are witnesses and there are suspects that are saying that he's guilty, and there were two kids, supposedly victims of Cardinal George Pell, drinking wine in the at the altar, and then he touched them in the private parts and the genitals, and the parents got outraged. The lawyers had a say on it. They think he's the bad guy, and
well, one of the supposed victims is now deceased through drug addiction, and even though he went on downward spiral, he was asked whether he was abused by a priest. He said no. So it was based on the testimony of this surviving supposed victim, and that's what got it through the jury trial. There were actually two jury trials. The first one was a hung jury. The second one convicted him. Then it was a 2-1 decision by Victoria's Court of Appeal to uphold the conviction. But of course, when it got to the High Court, that's when they overturned it.
Yeah, 7 votes to 0.
Reg, where do you stand on this matter? Because it's divided even the patriot nationalist community. For example, I've seen the Stand Up Australia pages to sort of paraphrase what they've said. They basically wanted him hanging from a lamppost in the centre of Melbourne. Where do you stand on it?
Well, mostly I stand with Johnny and all that because I say the offence becomes the Pell. I say it's the pedophiles and all that just hijack the Catholic Church and all, and yeah, it's just still insane. I mean, you just blame the people who have done the wrong thing, not the church, because what the media is doing right now is just giving them Christianity a bad name, or just demonise him because some guy just molested a kid. And it's stupid.
Yeah, I think that could be true. Yeah.
And it also makes you wonder, you and I, Johnny, are Victorians. This was a Victoria Police investigation. They thought that they had enough evidence. So did the Victorian Director of Public Prosecutions. 2 jury trials for it to a man be falsely imprisoned for 404 days. Who knows how much this has cost the Victorian taxpayer in total? It'd be the millions you would suspect, and it's turned out to be a miscarriage of justice. And obviously George Pell had the resources of the Catholic Church to fight this all the way to the High Court, but sort of makes you wonder, can you still have faith in the Victorian justice system since they prosecuted, or some people would say persecuted, this matter? In the end, it came to nothing, just hurt a whole bunch of people.
I would say if the law says George Pell's innocent, then he's innocent. You can't trust him every time though. The police, they have their moments. But here and there, when it comes to politics or cultural issues, they're not always the best. But for this specific issue, this issue only, George Pell, I back them on this. I haven't lost faith in justice. So basically, yeah, like I said, I think he's innocent. So I believe justice has prevailed. And the Pope Francis, he even said in the church day up in the Vatican that he talked about Jesus and made a similar story with George Pell.
And I know that was it on Facebook. I'll just bring it up now. What Daniel Andrews' response to the overturning of Pell's conviction. He said, "Here." This is why we practice social distancing, is so you can cough without any of us getting nervous about it.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is here.
Sure, you Skype then.
Yeah. Dan Andrews has said, he's Dan Andrews on Facebook, not Daniel Andrews. I make no comment about today's High Court decision, but I have a message for every single victim and survivor of child sexual abuse. I see you, I hear you, I believe you. So I know that, well, there's supposed to be the separation of powers between the police and the prosecution judiciary, but it sounds like that Daniel Andrews, he doesn't think that something went terribly wrong here. And even though that this wasn't a Me Too case, Me Too cases are most of the time he said, she said. But of course, this one was he said, he said. And we know that how false rape and sexual assault accusations can destroy men's lives. Actor John Jarrett, who played Mick Taylor on Wolf Creek, he has had his acting career destroyed by a false rape accusation. And you say that whether George Pell will go back to being a priest or cardinal, he won't, because he's 78 years old, got a heart condition. Imagine if he's seen out in public again, you'll still have the. I mean, you're on Twitter, Johnny. Did you see it today? They're all frothing at the mouth that how dare the High Court set him free.
Yeah, I'd say everyone has the same opinion as Daniel Andrews. I reckon. I've seen his tweet, and yeah, I don't think he approves, which is a good thing, by the way, because who likes Daniel Andrews' statements?
I don't.
Yeah, plenty of others do. But they're probably people who just don't care. People just don't care. People that are easily manipulated by the media. People who have left-wing views on politics, or people who vote for Labor. Yeah. It's easy. It's easy to see Pell as the bad guy, especially in Daniel Andrews' case.
Yeah.
Well, it's the reason why they hate him so much is because, as you mentioned before, he is a conservative in the church. He doesn't support gay marriage or gay reproductive technology. I know that to a lot of our audience that'll sound like an oxymoron, but he also is firmly pro-life on abortion and euthanasia, and also the fact that he comes across as an incredibly cold and unlikable person. He looks like he has no personality at all. And I know that there are people who know him have worked with him, seen him in private, not in front of a camera, and say that they see the real Pell as a much more compassionate man. So that made it easier.
Yeah, and his family says it too.
Yeah, his
family says the same thing.
For the public to dislike him, or just look at his demeanor. He just looks like, as you said, that he is a literal demon. Like he's basically as cold as ice.
Mm. Well, if you do behave cold as ice, that doesn't define your personality. Looks can be deceiving. So I don't know. It takes getting to know someone to know them personally, rather than just judge them when you don't know them personally, or when you don't have all the facts about them. Because, yeah, from an individual standpoint, I assume.
Reg, what do you think?
Well, it's just things got a bit up and down for him. So, I'm really on the fence with this one. So, I think I do support Pell's conservative views, but yeah, I think the Catholic Church needs to be fixed up. That's it.
Yeah.
Are you a Christian, Reg? I'm not sure if we've established it.
Catholic.
Catholic as well.
But I just don't go to churches because it's all corrupt. It's all corrupted, mate.
Yeah, I know that Dear Beltran, James Fox Higgins, and Matty Rose feel the same way, not just about the Catholic Church, but organised Christianity. They're not bothered that places of worship are forced to be closed under the lockdown because they don't see that as part of their duty as practicing everyday Christians.
Yeah, I used to go to church every Sunday, but now I can't because of the virus too. I mean, yeah, it was nearly packed. We don't get a lot of youth in my church because I live up in the northwest in up in Sunbury, and church around there. Well, I'm basically probably the only 20-year-old in there. Everyone else is either middle age. Sometimes they're around my age. That's good though, because we got a lot more young Christians slowly coming back up, but it's very slow. But everyone else is mostly just boomers and 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds. A lot of the young ones come with couples though. So I've seen baptisms. I've seen preparations for Easter. I follow Lent. I refrain from eating meat on Fridays, especially when Good Friday comes up. But now, yeah, can't go to church. Even if I disagree with sometimes the sermons or what the priest says or how they interpret it, because sometimes they bring politics into it. They might talk about it from a green standpoint. For example, the priest talks about how Pope Francis is like the great role model and how we should follow him. And I don't agree with Pope Francis. I think he needs to go. We need a newer.
He has to go.
Pope Francis, I mean, the fact that you've got an atheist like Bill Maher who loves him, calls him Pope Frank, and of course Pope Francis, he's got on the climate change train. Remember, he had a thinly veiled swipe at Trump during the campaign, a person who believes in wars is not Christians, even though Vatican City has a wall around it.
Yeah, it's hypocrisy at its finest. He's just he's a globalist puppet. That's what he is. He's just basically a political prostitute for the EU, the establishment, and for mainstream politics out there. He's telling exactly what what bleeding heart liberals are saying or what they want. He's become a bit of a voice for them. He's encouraging mass immigration. He's not really looking after his own, even though he's got those big walls up. Yeah, he speaks, but no substance.
We've got a question here on entropy from Senator Slayer to Johnny Moore. Do you secretly worship the devil, and are you the Antichrist? What do you say? Because, yeah, they always say it's the person you least suspect.
Lucifer? Nope. I worship Jesus Christ, mate.
Yeah, the true Messiah.
Yeah. It's hard to believe, with the Catholic Church and all. But, I don't know. Coming from me, though, I focus on, being a Christian and following the ways of Jesus. I think my denomination is sort of irrelevant compared to my actual faith, which is still a Christian. And Catholicism is still a part of Christianity. That some of you will disagree. There are plenty of you will disagree. But I always looked up to Jesus as my Lord, not the Pope. I don't believe in heads of religious authority too much. I follow what's deep in my heart. I take most of my interpretations from the New Testament rather than the Old Testament, as the Old Testament was part of the Jewish Torah and the Hebrew Bible. So, yeah, there's that.
And if you want to ask us a question, you can. I'm putting it in the chat regularly, the entropy link. You can ask a question or send through a super chat or answer the poll. At the moment, a majority of the voters believe that George Pell is innocent. So we'll announce the results at the end of the show. So why don't we move on to one of the other big news items of the day. We learnt, not last Friday, but the Friday before, that the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson had coronavirus, and he did a Twitter video where he said to the UK public that he had mild symptoms, so he'd got a test. He was self-isolating. He was still going to be Prime Minister, but now he's been rushed to hospital as in intensive care because he had really difficult trouble breathing. He doesn't need a ventilator yet, but it's shocked the British public that, because we've all been told about the coronavirus that most people, 80%, will experience mild symptoms, a cough and a fever. But if one of the leaders of the free world, he's almost fighting for his life. That scares a lot of people.
Yeah, it's even scaring some down under, even around the world. Those in America, world leaders, they've paid their respects. The Italian Prime Minister, the Canadian Prime Minister, the President of the US, Prime Minister Scott Morrison. Yeah, I prayed for him. I prayed for him today, and I hope that he gets better because, yeah, if he's intensive care...
He's not the Prime Minister they deserve. He's the Prime Minister that UK needs.
Yeah, exactly, at a time like this, especially with the virus. But now it's going to be a little bit harder to control all that without him around for the most part. So he's sort of he's doing his private meetings with his fellow compatriots.
Virtually, we should add, because he's in isolation, so he's in his home at number 10 Downing Street, not coming into contact with people, and I assume that there's a lot of scrubbing and cleaning going on around him as well.
Yeah, his temperature's through the roof.
The good news is Jeremy Corbyn's no longer the opposition leader of the Labour Party.
They elected another white, straight, male patriarch.
Yes.
What's his name again?
I'll look it up. I can't remember it. He's apparently he's a knight. All three of us are like, who is he? And yeah, his name, his full title is Sir Keir Starmer. So he's been in the House of Commons since 2015. He was knighted by the Queen for his human rights law practice. So he was elected by the British Labour Party base, and he's pretty much I would say that he's slightly to the right of Corbyn, but he's probably more globalist than Corbyn. He was the party's Brexit spokesman, and he wanted a second referendum people's vote. He's not quite a national socialist like Jeremy Corbyn was, but yeah, he's still pretty bad. Probably combines the worst of Corbynism and Blairism. So social democracy and socialism.
Yeah. Well, he's not perfect, but he is, yeah, exactly what Reg said. He's the kind of he's the man that the British need right now. I mean, he makes decisions and he doesn't, think too much about them. He doesn't roll back. He's not flip-floppity like Theresa May was. And Theresa May, she was mainly brought in just to sabotage Brexit, but she's out now. Boris is in, and this issue is in. Boris Johnson, I agree with him for the most part, but I don't agree with him in terms when it comes to, being a conservative, social issues. He is liberal leaning. He tends to be a bit liberal when it comes to, social issues, gay marriage and everything else.
Well, he was the mayor of London, Boris Johnson, for 8 years, got elected twice, and after Boris Johnson vacated the London mayoralty, Sadiq Khan, the Labour Muslim, is now the mayor of London.
Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, get rid of him.
I don't know who's worse, Daniel Andrews or Sadiq Khan. I was watching an interview with Tommy Robinson and Imam Tawhidi once. Tawhidi once said, "I wouldn't have him the manager of McDonald's." That was a good one. That was a really good one. Sadiq Khan, he's a clown. He's got to get out. How can the people of London vote him in? Oh my God.
Because it's London and he's the diversity candidate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, urban areas, they tend to vote for more left-wing governments, and he's very progressive. And he hates basically native Britons. He always puts up posters, encourages them for more multiculturalism, more multiracialism, and even when, it's just, he's a joke. He's basically made London an Islamist or a jihadi paradise, and crime rate has gone up dramatically, and he doesn't seem to be paying any attention to it. He knows it's happening deep down inside. He knows it's happening, but he's not going to do anything about it, because otherwise he's got his supporters are going to, in the Labor Party as well, are going to call him a hypocrite. They're going to call him, a race traitor, and he's running. Yeah, he basically runs London like it's his own personal piggy bank.
Yeah.
People hate him. A lot of English people, they don't like him.
Yeah, I didn't like him either. He's a bit of a douche.
I know. He's one of the
But what
worst.
says Jones?
Philip Cunningham has pointed out in the chat, London isn't English, and that was a observation that was put into the public sphere by a famous English comedian John Cleese of Monty Python and Fawlty Towers, who said that London was no longer an English city, and he's in his 70s. John Cleese has obviously seen England and London change dramatically throughout his lifetime.
Yeah, he's right.
Well, yeah, he's being realistic here. I don't see why people were so pissed off about that. He's right, technically. And there are those that see it and that know it's happening, even those who tend to be, on the centre. There are some people in Britain that know that London isn't become an English city anymore, because it's not. It's yeah. He's right though. John Cleese is in the right. I mean, he's doing the right thing. He said the right thing, and when he said that about last year, yeah, I agree. I don't get what people were calling him a racist and calling him a bigot for. It's just being realistic here. Are we supposed to ignore the fact that England's own demographics are going to go down, and then you're just going to call it racist? That's terrible. I don't get it. There's always a double standard when it comes to these sort of people.
And because of the coronavirus pandemic in the UK, I'll just have a brief glance at their stats at the moment. They've got 51,000 cases of coronavirus and have had 5,373 deaths. They've cancelled this year's local government elections in the UK, which includes the London mayoral election. So Sadiq Khan, he gets to be London mayor for an extra year. He was going to go to the polls in May 2020. That's been delayed until May 2021.
Yeah. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, the people, they should see what Sadiq Khan is doing. I guess he's just going to hire workers' he's just going to increase workers' wages, and he's just going to do what the lower class tell him to do. Basically, left-wing populists.
We've got another question on entropy from Port Film Co-op. Reg Penney, did you steal my bike? I think he's sort of implying you look like a thief with those glasses. Look sinister.
I don't look like a guy steal a bike. Nah.
You look like you're on a summer holiday, mate. Out on the beach.
I think it was Versace Cowboy who asked when's your line of sunglasses coming out.
I don't know. It depends. I had to wait for a couple of months till get everything back up and going,
And we've got a super chat from Alan B. Stardom P. Hopefully this virus, especially with Boris's condition, will place a dent in globalization. We must manufacture more. Can't rely on China for face masks. Can Zuck may yet eventuate? Yes, the Anglosphere, as it's called, which Australia, Canada, UK, and New Zealand, we've all got the Westminster democratic system, the common law. We all still trust each other, and we shouldn't just not rely on China anymore. We shouldn't trust China at all.
I trust him.
Oh yeah, not at all, mate. China, yeah, they're secretly at war with us. They knew about the coronavirus. They kept it secret from the rest of the world. Yeah. Who knows what else they're hiding from us? They come from a place where they eat bats and they cook cats alive, cook dogs alive, and it's always been a part of their thing. So now it's just gotten out of hand from Wuhan. They kept that secret, and then they blamed America they blamed the military, then they blamed everyone else, and now the virus, it got worse. It increased. The death rates got higher in China, but they're even higher in Europe right now. Just look at Italy. It's got over nearly 20,000 cases. It's nearly getting there. Then you've got Spain, which has gotten worse. And at the moment, you can't cure the virus. We've got no, cures for it, got no vaccines, but you can sort of control it if you just, borders. Russia, they got a few cases, and soon thereafterwards, they started profiling, Chinese people and sort of separated them, had a bit of a social distance policy, and it worked. The cases were very fewer, and everyone in the Western hemisphere, though, in Europe, they couldn't take it, and they just called it racist, and then they called it racial profiling. But the truth is, it worked, though. And in Italy, the mayor of Florence, he told people to hug a Chinese man. They hug a Chinese person. So people were wearing face masks, and they even encouraged the Chinese people there in Italy to take the masks off and then give them a hug, and then things just got worse. I mean, I'm being realistic here. I mean, I don't have anything against Chinese people, but their government is corrupt. They're evil. The CCP, they have a vendetta, a personal vendetta against the entire world, the West. They want to expand. Sooner or later, they're going to march on Taiwan. They're going to expand their territory in the South China Sea. But they also want to hurt us from the inside out, and with the virus. So that means we, Australians, for example, we're going to come begging to them for better trade deals and, better goods. And then China's just going to say we need to pay more and more money for them because it's going to benefit China a lot. And they're the country that will have, the most resources. And everyone's going to come begging to them. I reckon that could all be part of a plan. Isn't that just a coincidence, or do you something seem a bit fishy here?
Well, their numbers seem fishy, as if... Well, they still claim that they only have 3,000 coronavirus cases and 81,000... infections. Everyone calls bullshit on that.
Well, speaking of China, they ordered 200,000 body bags from Taiwan, according to the NTD News. I think China's hiding something there, so...
Send me a link to that. I'll look at that myself. Well, we know that Chinese-owned companies have been busy here during January and February buying hand sanitizer and facial masks and other essential medical supplies, which our government has made illegal now. And I heard on the weekend in Coles in Sydney, there were multiple reports that Chinese people were still emptying shelves full of baby formula at Coles around Sydney. I mean, that's nothing new. They've been doing it for years, but it's different now since we are basically in a war situation, and I'm not sure if sending baby formula overseas is covered in that, but there's much more. The anger has boiled over about that since that has been going on for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
That's sort of where don't buy from China comes in. Made in China, don't buy it. From here on out, I don't want to buy anything that's made in China. As I always wanted to do, always made in Australia. Always buy clothes, even if it's really hard, made in Australia or another Western country.
Versace Cowboy has said $600 for a 15-litre of hand sanitizer I had to pay last week at Sydney Tools. And Logan Spalding, he uploaded a video today. He was at a shop in Melbourne. They were charging $45 for a bottle of hand sanitizer, which is, well...
$45 and $600.
Sorry?
I got 29. It's like the sanitizers cost me about $29 to $45 for a litre of sanitizer.
Yeah.
Get out.
I know, right?
I know. And really, $29, $45, $600? That's got to be a scam. Anyone could do that. That's basically the same sort of a scam someone on eBay would do.
Mm-hmm.
They did the same thing with toilet paper, but now everyone's really borrowing hand sanitizer. I understand everyone's using it now. I go to the store, there's nothing there anymore. It's just hand wash, but it doesn't count as hand sanitizer though. I got to keep one with me at all times, especially when I'm out working or doing my own thing. But yeah, that's crazy. That's bloody expensive.
Yeah, now beer industries have started making beer like sanitizers out of beer and all that now. So
I actually heard that some people are buying bottles of vodka not to drink, but to use as disinfectant and sanitizer.
Oh yeah, vodka, eh?
It's a perfectly good bottle of vodka. A brewer spent years distilling that. And we're just reduced to using it as hand sanitizer or other types of cleaner.
Ah, jeez. What does it come down to?
Yeah. Though I am noticing in my supermarkets around my area, toilet paper has returned in abundance. I didn't take a photo of it, but it was basically full. They've got still the one limit per customer. I'm not sure what it's like up in Sunbury way, Johnny, whether you're getting some back in or it's still empty.
No, we've got plenty of toilet paper back in. I'm filled. I haven't been hoarding, and you can't hoard. You'll be caught. You can only take one packet still per piece. 9 toilet rolls, 8 toilet rolls, maybe some thick toilet paper, a 6-pack of thick toilet paper. It doesn't matter. What matters is that there's plenty of toilet paper now, and it's not too much of a big issue anymore as it is with hand sanitizer now, or other essentials, pasta, your veggies. They've run out.
So if you stockpiled toilet paper thinking you could sell it at an inflated price, well, suffering your jocks, literally, because there's going to be a price crash soon with toilet paper.
Yeah. I mean, everyone around my area just ran out of toilet paper and all that, but I still got plenty enough to last me. So yeah, I'm not ordering.
Most are still made in China, but
yeah, I had to buy Australia made and owned. So
most of the brands are made in Australia. Believe it or not, we have got a few follow-up questions on entropy. Port Film Co-op asked Reg, if you didn't steal my bike, did you borrow it without asking? He really thinks that you took his bike.
I didn't take any bike. I don't ride bikes anymore.
You don't want to ride your bicycle.
If anyone took your bicycle, it would be Isaac Butterfield taking it to the tip. So yeah.
And we've got a follow-up question from Senator Slayer, Johnny Moore. If you were president of the world, who would you put in the Labour camps?
Who would I put in the left-wing Labour camps?
In Labour camps. Like to work hard prison labour.
Greens.
Yeah, the Greens. The Greens are basically communists. They're communists.
I did notice that Sarah Hanson-Young has emerged from her hiding. Yeah. She's appeared on the news a few times after she wrote that character reference for that political ally in Canberra who pled guilty to slapping his wife on Christmas Eve.
So what was that?
Sarah Hanson-Young. She was dead quiet for quite a while. You remember Reg, don't you?
Yep.
But she seems to think it's sort of safe to come out now since everyone's talking about the coronavirus now.
She's just looking for more attention, and she's hoping it'll go viral. If she says something, then the media is going to look all towards her. But it's all to further her own goal. I mean, she's still part of the Greens party. She still always provides talking points for them. Every time you see her on the news, she's always bringing up, her politics, the values that the Greens hold dear. And, she'll say whatever. She'll do whatever to get the word out, so then people are going to listen to her and the Greens party. But no one's really buying it. Only their voters. And their voters are a bunch of, radical environmentalists, basically eco-fascists in their own right. Yeah, that's why you call it the watermelon theory. They appear to be green and loving the trees, but on the inside, they're communists. And they don't care about the dangers of Marxism, cultural Marxism, in our schools and our universities and the education system. It's rotten. And they seem to be all for that. There's even Marxists that do support the Greens, and they look towards Sarah Hanson Young as an all-right role model from their circles I've seen anyways. Yeah. I reckon, Reg, you've called her a pig before, haven't you?
Yeah, I called her a pig, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't argue there. They're going to say you're body shaming. They're going to call you out for body shaming. But Isaac Butterfield would say, get screwed. Get effed. I saw his video on vegans actually today. That was a good one.
Well, I'm not sure if you saw my Unshackled article from last week, but the meme is literally true. When the meat was being stockpiled, because they moved from the toilet paper to the rice and pasta, then the meat, the mince and the chicken, the only thing left was the plant-based meat section, which of course is not real meat. And at my local supermarket, it was full. The plant-based meat section, Versace Cowboy, the same was at his local supermarket. I'm not sure if you saw that firsthand yourself.
Yeah, I'm not having plant-based meat, mate. No way. I've heard about that, but that's the last thing I need right now. I can't go to the gym now, and I'm already pretty lazy at home. So the last thing I need is to lower my testosterone. I don't want something that's going to kill me. I don't want to lose my manliness, and that's what all those plant-based products are going to do. And the plant-based burgers, for example, from Hungry Jack's, they're full of estrogen. They can severely affect the male hormone. They're going to lower... Yeah. It's basically just another soy product in a way. Yeah. Soybeans contain phytoestrogens, which are organic compounds that mimic the female hormone estrogen. So what's the difference? There is no difference.
No difference at all.
Yeah. They're a contributor to the man boob epidemic. I sort of think that these plant-based estrogen burgers, they're going to put the plastic surgeons out of business. You don't need a boob job. Just have what is that, Hungry Jack's Impossible Burger?
Yep. Otherwise known as bitch tits. Pardon me language. Pardon me language, everyone. I know I can be a good Christian sometimes, but I have the heart of an Aussie, so I'm gonna I'll say my swear words here and there. But hey, we're laughing, right?
We're allowed to have a bit of a laugh and not be PC. We don't get offended here easily.
Oh no, screw that.
Oh, screw them.
We've got some more questions here. Senator Slayer has asked, Reg, does your wife's boyfriend ever steal your sunglasses? I wasn't even aware that you had a wife, Reg.
What? No, I don't have a wife. No.
And Binary Agenda has asked, should New South Wales ministers lose their jobs for letting the Ruby Princess dock? Yes, Braz Hazard, the health minister, should lose his job, though it has been revealed now that the ports minister, Andrew Constance, also played a role in the decision to let it dock, although he's sort of protected species because he's the bushfire hero, the member for Bega, but David Elliott is still the police minister, even though he pissed off to Europe during the bushfires.
Yeah. Sorry, Reg. You go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that Brad Hazard was part of the pushing for abortion laws and all that in New South Wales, so he deserved to lose his job.
And I know you're not a fan of David Elliott either.
No, I'm not a big fan of him either.
What about Andrew Constance? Because he's, as I said, he's sort of treated as even though he's the hero of supposed hero of fighting the bushfires, because he told ScoMo to open up the checkbook.
He's not the hero of bushfires. It's the firefighters that are the heroes that fought really hard on it. Like, fighting really hard on bushfires. It's the firefighters that work their asses off to get it maintained and under control.
You look at it now, we've gone from the bushfires, the firemen working real hard, even volunteer firefighters such as Tony Abbott, they worked hard. The bushfires are sort of under control at the moment. They're getting better, but now with the coronavirus, the firemen have sort of passed their hero's role down to the doctors and the nurses for the epidemic.
Johnny, I think you mean fire people.
Fire people, yeah, fire women. Oh, I politically correct, mate. Politically correct? I thought we were going to be politically incorrect.
I was finding my Trudeau voice there.
People kind, hey?
There's also another question from Port Film Co-op here for you, Reg. Did you kill your wife for supporting the wrong football team?
No.
You're not authorised to. You don't have to answer that question on the grounds of incrimination.
No. I don't want to kill. I'm just going to put it in a bin.
So hard rubbish night, that's when you put out the wife.
Yep.
It's rubbish night tonight, actually.
That forms a good segue there. Why don't we talk sports for the next segment? Well, sports aren't being played at the moment. Johnny and I being Melburnians, we're AFL fans. I'm a Brisbane Lions supporter. Which team do you support, Johnny?
I used to go for the Essendon Bombers, but now I go for the Collingwood Magpies.
Oh, how did that happen?
Well, I don't know. I was sort of brought up as a Bomber supporter, but the Pies were doing a much better job, especially in 2010 when they got in the grand final. They were doing a lot more better than the Bombers were, and how they basically lost most of the time on Anzac Day, and it's basically the Bombers. They always rely on the best players. They don't usually work together on this, but the Pies do. They do as much of a good job as the Tigers are doing, and they've got some good chances this year. But last year, though, I pretty much officially left the Bombers after that horror game, that horror show against the Western Bulldogs. I think it was round 21, 22. That was in August last year, though. They had a 104-point lead over the Bombers, the Western Bulldogs. That was a disgrace. I've never seen such... Oh, my God. It's making me angry. It'll make me angry just thinking about that very night. I couldn't watch.
I'm mad as hell. Let the rage out.
Oh, yeah. No, come on. Oh, man. That was disgraceful.
Yeah.
But the Pies, though, go the Pies.
Swans.
You go for the Sydney Swans.
Yeah.
So Malcolm Turnbull.
Well, we kicked him out. He buggered off.
Yeah.
Well, they're considered the sort of Eastern elite team in Sydney now. GWS well, even though GWS is like the welfare team, supposedly, because they're based out west, they're more of the people's team.
And the 12-year-olds fans, they hit hard.
Yep.
Some Swan fan was picking on the poor little 12-year-old, and then 12-year-old just punched him hard, and what happened? GWS won.
Pissy Leaks Peter V, who has said, Johnny Moore, you did the right thing, can't stand Essendon, from a Blues supporter.
All right, well, there you go, mate. There you go. I don't like the Blues, but I would say, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. It was probably the right thing to do. I don't know. The Essendons, the Bombers, they're just not in it anymore, and they're not going to do a good job this year. They were already playing against the I forgot who they were playing against before, but Fremantle, and yeah, they were doing good, a little bit fine, not the best, but Fremantle, they were catching up. Every time the Bombers are doing good, they lose their energy real quickly, and the other team, the opposing team, they always catch up. It always happens to the Bombers now, so I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. So there you go.
The good thing about the season being suspended for Carlton fans is they've actually done better than they would if the whole season would. Because Carlton have been pretty much rubbish for about 20 years now.
Yeah, haven't won a grand final since 1995.
Yes, well, they've been down the wooden spooners down that end of the table for most of the 21st century.
Yeah, well... To their credit, though, they still lost this the recent game a few weeks back. But yeah, they still put in a better effort than the Bombers. I will give them that. If that makes you feel happy, Peter V or Peter Leaks Pete, whoever.
But the AFL, they look like they're, out of all the sporting codes in Australia, look like they'll come out of the pandemic relatively unscathed. They'll take a hit. The players have taken a pay cut, but certainly the league and all the clubs will survive. But with your code, Reg, NRL, Todd Greenberg said that the code is in the fight of its life, and some clubs might not survive. And I was also amazed at the bureaucracy that Greenberg has created at NRL HQ, and they have no capital, rainy day funds. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's all Greenberg's fault. He's just, the NRL just wastes too much money on political crap, and I'm just hoping the Sydney Roosters survive this. I think the 12 clubs that may go, probably be Parra, whatever team. I'm just hoping that most teams will survive. They'll probably cut it down to 12, but
Yeah, the fans, they want to see their teams play again, and it's
they
more.
want to see the teams play again. I was looking forward to the Roosters South match, but it's gone.
Yeah. It's a community tragedy, and the community soul. Yeah, it makes sense when you put it that way.
Though you can take solace, Reg, that there's another code doing even worse, and that's Rugby Australia. They're trying to make up $120 million revenue black hole, and 3 new members of the Rugby Australia board, Brett Godfrey, Peter Wiggs, and Daniel Herbert, they look like they're going to ditch Raelene Castle, the goth chick, as I call her, the one who, well, most of us saw on the news not because she was the rugby CEO, but because she terminated Israel Folau's contract.
Well, Karma got her. Karma's a bitch.
Yeah, you know she's not even Australian, she's a New Zealander.
Send her back to New Zealand.
Yeah, well...
No, she stuffed the Bulldogs, like her and Greenberg. Those, I think most people who screwed up the games and codes is probably the ones that come from the Bulldogs.
Well, the NRL, they remember their season launch video that we played. I'm not sure if we've discussed it since. So we played it on episode of the Uncuckables, but they actually got, because they were so busy with the virtue signal, including the subliminal lesbian kiss, that they got a lot of the historical facts wrong in the ad.
Yeah, even that. I was waiting for Joey Hargraves to smash him, but COVID-19 screwed it up.
Bugger.
Yeah, I was like, oh, assuming the best, and then suddenly the girl just sung it, and I'm like, you ruined it. And then you make Latrell Mitchell the next Adam Goods, and then lesbian kiss and all that, and Macklemore from 2017 Grand Final. I'm like, what have you done to the game, guys? I mean, they just wrecked it since they got rid of the sole charge of Biff.
I know I know NRL fans are big fans of the Biff.
Yeah. Just as a show how rough up, like, Aussies are, you know? Or all the Aussies, like, when the footy players go on the ground, half-time during the break, they just have a ciggy and drink beer, and then they just go back out and play, and at the end, they just go off to the pub, have a smoke, and, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all they in the game back in the day, but now it's gone downhill.
Yeah, they sure were the days.
Yep.
And most people probably would have missed this news, but those 2 NRL players, they were Bulldogs players. I think they were released by the NRL who had the relationships with the schoolgirls, legal relationships, but they were under 18.
We'll sack them.
Or they have been sacked.
They're over the age of 16. They're over 16, which is legal in New South Wales, but Queensland, I don't know, but they should not be doing that. I mean, they should not be meeting up with schoolgirls, and the schoolgirls need to keep it in their pants. Players should keep it in their pants. If you think from like down there, not from there, you're sacked.
Yeah, that's clear enough.
Yeah.
So we've got some more questions here on entropy. One from Senator Slayer Reg. Do you look down on beta cucks because you're a Chad Lord?
What? Wait, what?
Do you walk around Newtown just staring down the soy boys?
No. I don't go to Newtown's shithole.
And we've got a question from Brucey Boy who says, when can we expect the launch of Timmy's OnlyFans account? Why do you ask? Would you sign up for one, Juicy Brucey Boy? Do you know what OnlyFans is? It's basically like the Patriot.
Yeah, coffee. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, you're just getting some mid-show room service.
Yeah, I'm just going to have a bit of coffee in a minute.
I was going to ask the pair of you, do you know what OnlyFans is?
Oh, no.
Johnny?
What?
OnlyFans, have you heard of that website?
OnlyFans?
Yeah.
I think I've heard about it.
It's basically a Patreon for porn stars.
Oh. Well, yeah, then yeah, I haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
I stay away from that.
Your mind is pure then.
Oh, yeah, well, I wouldn't say.
Sorry for...
Okay, a little bit.
Sorry for corrupting you with that explanation.
Hey, no, we've all been there, mate.
Bloody hell.
We were talking about China before, but I think it's worth having another whack at them since they did create the virus. Reg is stepping out for a moment. Yep. There have been calls from Australian politicians, Malcolm Roberts and George Christensen, that China should pay reparations and compensation because they created this virus and lied about it. And I saw that US Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican, has now said the same thing. And our leaders and a lot of the leaders of other nations have been piss weak when it comes to standing up to China. They just want to take the benefits and sweep up under the carpet the problems for our national security, which have been exposed now. But what do you think of that? Do you think that we should seek it and we can make them pay?
I reckon they should pay all compensation, especially when it comes to the US debt, when it comes to our own debts with China. They owe us everything in back taxes, especially when it comes to COVID-19. Yeah, we don't owe them anything. We don't owe them nothing at all. Those commies have either got to pay us or they can get screwed. I mean, we're trying to work with them. We're all trying to work together in on this, and they're not making it any easier for us when they're being dishonest. And you got, big things like big powers like the United Nations, the World Health Organization. Oh, you're back.
Yep,
back, Reg.
Yeah, just turn your camera back on now, Reg.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, got your coffee.
Yep. What do you have to do?
Had a coffee earlier. Anyways, cheers. All right, so yeah, we don't owe China anything, and the World Health Organization, which is the health arm of the United Nations, they're defending China. They're saying China's doing the right thing, and they trust the government, especially when it comes to controlling the virus, even though things have sort of, slowed down over there in China, and Wuhan is basically under control at this point.
That's a lie.
Taiwan. They're also doing a good job trying to contain the virus, and they got into an interview with one of the executives of the World Health Organization, and when she asked him, the Taiwanese woman, she asked him if he recognizes Taiwan's work and reckons they're doing a good job, and no, he doesn't respond. He just says, yeah, China is doing a good job. He doesn't mention Taiwan. He completely ignores her when she says Taiwan, refrains from the question, and then logs off and pretends like something happened. But he knows exactly what happened. He just didn't want to answer the question. And if she kept pushing him for it, then he would have no choice. So he logged off and didn't come back. Well, he does come back in the end, though. and he still couldn't answer the question. So, in other words, the World Health Organization is the Wuhan Health Organization. They're basically China's puppet. This just proves you cannot trust the UN at all. Don't trust the UN. We need, it's outlived its purpose. It's outlived its purpose since the war. Yeah, if you ask me.
He's right. The Deputy Prime Minister of Japan's right.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Yeah.
He did call it the Wuhan Health Organization.
World Health Organization is not. It's a globalist body, but it's not connected to the United Nations. But speaking of that, China has now been admitted to the UN Human Rights Council. Fascist despotic regimes getting admitted to the UN Human Rights Council is nothing new. Saudi Arabia did, but it just reminds people what a farce when the UN lectures us on human rights, saying that we torture refugees and put them in concentration camps, how lacking in credibility they are.
A country is based on freedom and liberty, and compared to China, though, it's left-wing authoritarian over there. Basically, you've got the social credit system there that people there in China, Chinese citizens, they have a credit score system where if they do something wrong, they're going to get punished for it. So the Chinese government will say, you cannot do this, you can do that, but you can't do this. And if you keep on, doing this, if you keep crossing the road when you're not supposed to, jaywalking, you're going to lose demerit points. And then eventually it's going to go to punishing your family as well. A bit like similar to North Korea. And they held up Christians and, Uyghur Muslims, I think. They held them up in concentration camps and re-education centers over there in China. They're basically concentration camps. They're burning holy books there. They're persecuting those who are religious, because China is an atheist state, an officially declared atheist state, and they still hold to that. And they have a huge religious population over there, even though it's only at 1 or 2%. That's still over 80 to 70 million people, but who are religious and who are not. But they don't deserve to be on the Human Rights Commission. You can compare them to Pakistan, you can compare them to Saudi Arabia or another Middle Eastern country, but it's a joke. It's stupid.
Have you heard the new saying that who let the coronavirus out? Who?
Who let the coronavirus out?
Who?
The Chinese.
World Health Organization. Who let the coronavirus out?
The Chinese.
Yeah, but it works well in that joke there.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. But hey, that's what you get from eating bat soup.
Oh, God.
Remember how they were telling us to fight climate change because we shouldn't eat meat because of the cow farts that we should eat bugs. But after the fact that, this strand of coronavirus has evolved from bat coronavirus, eating insects and other weird creatures, I don't think that's a good idea.
No, of course not. I mean, look to similar research on the Ebola virus. The Ebola virus started in Africa, and that came from fruit bats, as studies have shown. But people are trying to say that it's not the bats though, because otherwise it's just offensive to China. But they don't even cut the skin off of the bats. They don't even they don't skin them. They don't dress them. They leave them. They cook them alive and put them in the soup. Put them in the pot. Some people even eat mice alive. There's a dish called Three Squeaks where they dip the mice into the the sauce, whatever it is, and with the chopsticks they put it in their mouth and eat it alive. And they even eat bugs over there as well, and especially in Southeast Asia. And you hear progressive media saying it's an idea we might have to start getting used to. As our population grows, we should be exactly like the Chinese. And I don't know about you, but I'm not freaking eating bugs, and I'm not eating mice. I'm not eating bats.
Bro, they shopped and eat that crap. No.
No thanks. I'll be enjoying porterhouse steak and bacon and eggs for breakfast.
Amen.
Yep, amen.
Eat like a king, you'll stay fit like a king.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Be fit like a man and stay a man.
far to go.
You mentioned China's social credit system, how they monitor your every move. We've become a bit like that as well, because I know that you, Reg, have been keeping a tab on some local police enforcing the coronavirus restrictions, quite draconian. There was that learner driver in Melbourne who was fined practicing to drive with her mum. She lived in Hampton. They were driving in Frankston, which is about 40 minutes away. The police officer deemed that they were too far away from home and it was non-essential travel, so got a $1,600 fine. That fine has now been rescinded by Deputy Police Commissioner Shane Batten. He said that the fine had been dropped because of lack of clarity, but said it was legally issued. We will withdraw it because it clearly wasn't widely understood by the public. But learner drivers caught in similar situations in future are unlikely to be so lucky. So even though learning to drive, it's education, according to Victoria Police, their interpretation of the lockdown stay-at-home orders, it's non-essential travel.
Yeah, I called it though. I mean, still though, the laws have gotten pretty extreme here, especially during quarantine. So that girl, I think she was a year 12 student driving around with her mum on her learners and gets pulled over by the cops and gets fined $1,600. Everyone flipped. Everyone didn't think it was a good idea, and they thought it was just ridiculous, especially when you got learners who are driving now as we speak. They're driving around at night, they're driving around at day, they're not going to public events or public gatherings, they're not getting out of their cars in public events or places. They're just, going for a regular drive. And you could basically, if you're the guardian or the parent, you could take your child for a drive to the grocery store, to Woolies, you could take them to the pharmacy, and that's completely fine. They just happen to be driving, they get pulled over, and even though they got fined $1,600, they overturned it the next day because everyone piled up on them. The police, they didn't apologize for it though. They just said that they're just saying that they have to be careful and they can't take any chances.
Well, seriously, this is wrong. I mean, you should just let people learn to drive. I mean, people need to get their hours up to get their P's. But the problem is now, when you do your hazard perception tests, and then after that, you can't do your driver's tests until the end of June. Till the end of June now.
Yeah, I know.
It's absolutely wrong.
I know. At the same time, though, those who are on their learners, those who are still in school, they've got a bit of work and exams to catch up on. The school's going to start again next week, and I think they'd rather be focusing on their exams rather than getting a fine from the police for $1,600. That'll save the girl. That'll save the girl who just got fined, and now it's been rolled back. Yeah, this will be a huge relief to her though. She won't have to worry about going to court.
Quite a 17-year-old, to have that sort of experience with law enforcement, that would shake you up.
Well, yeah, it would. Anyone would feel the same way.
We've also had in the past day a group of mates who were playing backyard cricket because they were backed on to what looked like to be a public park. They were all given $1,600 fines. A total of $8,000 worth of fines were issued, divided by 5. So obviously the Victorian government made a bit of revenue off that. So that's the latest example. And in your home city, Reg, in a Westfield in Miranda, police were patrolling it. They were doing it's called a social distancing compliance sweep, demanding to know why shoppers were there. But the thing is, because some retailers that are not supermarkets selling consumer goods are open, fast food are open, so therefore they are deemed essential business. But what if a police officer says that, you don't need to visit the Telstra shop to get a new phone case that's non-essential, even though the Telstra shop is open and has those phone cases for sale.
I know, it's just absolutely getting ridiculous. I mean, non-essentials and all. I mean, the government's just giving police more power. I mean, the more you give them more power, the more rights and liberty and civil rights and liberties is gone. You know, I mean, as I seen on Sky News Australia and all, it's just gone completely insane.
Basically, you give away your rights, you're not going to get most of them back.
Exactly.
We've got a few more questions here. Senator Slayer has asked, Reg, do you wear those glasses because you're secretly Chinese? That's a silly question because he doesn't need to take them off to...
Nah, not Chinese. I'm not Chinese at all. See? Not Chinese at all. I'm so sure. I don't look Chinese at all.
I think he got to you there. And we've got Port Film Co-op. Johnny Moore, what is your favourite Jean-Claude Van Damme film? Say it properly, Tim.
I don't know. I don't think I watch his films. Is he a director? Is he a director or a movie producer? Oh, an actor.
An actor. He's more of a martial arts fighter, and yeah.
Nah, I don't think I don't follow him that much.
This is all 80s, 90s stuff and all.
I'm not sure.
And I probably should know. I prefer the classics. I'd watch a classic movie any day from the 80s or the 90s over a film this day. Everything is it's politically driven, and it all favours the left wing. They're always being like, they put feminists in films nowadays. They put, liberals, the alphabet community inside. Yeah. I don't agree with it, and it's going to influence an entire generation of young people who do watch new Hollywood films or new movies in the film industry, and they're going to grow up and the dark web. Yeah, that was I didn't bother to watch that one. And besides, it even messes with the law and how John Connor dies. It basically means the first two Terminators were for nothing. The
thing that really I think was the worst in my view was when they made Doctor Who a woman. I mean, yes, the Doctor regenerates when he gets fatally wounded, but he's always a male. But apparently on the latest regeneration, the 13th one, suddenly the Doctor regenerates into a woman, even though it's never happened before. And now there's even talk that there might be a transgender companion to the female Doctor.
Oh, God.
What was he born first? The transgender actor. What was he born first, male or female?
Born male first.
Well, he's a male then, and he'll never be a woman, no matter how much he wants to be. Okay? All right, I don't care. Trannies are freaks.
Oh, you said the T word.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a transphobic. Call me a transphobe if you want, but I don't get it. If there's a woman who identifies as a man or a man who identifies as a woman, he can be that, but he'll never be the opposite gender, no matter how much he identifies and wants to be a part of it. And if they get involved in sports or in movies, they're going to take over the roles that are traditionally assigned to the selected gender for the role. Basically, just look at the gym, just look at sports, and people who are transgender are getting involved, and they're doing more better than women. People who were born as males but identify as women, they're beating women even though they identify as women, and people notice this is going on, and people are calling it out, but they're also being called transphobic. So why should anyone care if they're being called a transphobe when you've got actual transgenders who don't know what they're dealing with here, that are just that are sort of sick or that have got mental issues? They
Yeah.
It's just not working out. It's not working out.
Yeah.
The three words you're now not allowed to say are the T word, the F word, and the N word. Those are the new swear words you're not allowed to say at all. You're allowed to say all the old swear words that you weren't allowed to say 40 years ago.
Yeah, times have changed. Doesn't mean I hate him. Just means I'm not being politically correct.
Yeah.
There's a difference. We either have freedom of speech or we don't. But there are those that will say there is a fine line between freedom of speech and hate speech. But I don't believe that at all. And I'm pretty sure comedians like Ricky Gervais and Dave Chappelle, they wouldn't care either.
Oh,
and look how good they're doing.
Do you want some good news that was brought to us by Blair White, who has gone from being the conservative transuber to basically the YouTube predator hunter, because she was going after Onision, and now Chris Hansen is after Onision, who is that annoying American YouTuber who'd been grooming his young female fans, and also Jessica Yaniv, that Canadian trans woman who
I forgot all about her.
wanted the salons to wax her balls. She's had her account suspended by Twitter. What's it? It's it. I better get this. What was her Twitter handle?
Wax my balls.
Twitter name right, because it's actually similar to somebody as I know Twitter handle.
I think she did an interview with Blair White, and Blair White cut her off because she couldn't take she couldn't take any more of Jessica Yaniv's mental breakdown. She even brought a stun gun into the video.
Yeah, which she got charged for possessing a weapon.
Especially
a trusted nerd was her Twitter handle.
Yeah, trusted nerd. She even assaulted someone who was working for the Rebel.
Yeah, because Rebel have been good since they sort of retreated back to just their native Canada. They've been making a really big impact in just Canadian domestic politics, and this is why Trudeau is probably the worst tyrant of them all, because he had we don't know if he directly, but the police interrogated Ezra Levant over a book he wrote because it was apparently interfering in an election without proper disclosures.
Yeah, but good for them though. I mean, it's not the US election. That's basically when they went mainstream. Everyone international, worldwide, they knew about them because of that. That's how they got famous, and how they talked about feminism and how gender is over, and how we're basically living in a new age. But now it's sort of died down a little bit, especially now. And yeah, they're just focusing on their own matters in Canada. They have reporters stationed everywhere though, even people who will work with them or report for them as reserves. I've seen Tommy Robinson. He used to work for them.
And Ezra still interviews him quite regularly. Obviously, Ezra can't go to the UK now because of the travel restrictions. The Tommy Robinson he did benefit from the UK lockdown in that his court date for assaulting the alleged bum pincher of his daughter has now been postponed indefinitely.
Yeah. Recently I also heard that he helped an elderly woman.
Yes.
She was being spat on by two migrants though. Two migrants
I saw that as well.
were spitting her and attacking her, and then the media, they basically said there was someone who saved her and called him a hero, but they didn't mention his name. Because you dare to mention his name. And the media hate him enough as it is. I mean, you can only imagine. But it's good for him, though. I mean, his daughter already got groped by someone, and now this. Tommy doesn't stand for anything and doesn't take, crap happening in his own country. He stands up and does things what is right, because that's his mentality. He takes it
Give him
upon
a nice
himself
copy.
to do the things that nobody else can do, especially when it comes to patriots, conservatives, or anyone else who just, likes their country or anything. But it ain't. Yeah, that's good though. It's good though.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming up to 10 p.m. Melbourne time, so we might wrap the show up. Your last chance to ask a question, good or stupid, on entropy, or send us through a super chat.
All right.
We should also finish on a positive note, is in that Australia, we are achieving, as is our stated goal, to flatten the curve of daily infections. I'll just bring up the Scott Morrison did another press conference today where the Australian Department of Health is now being more transparent with their modelling and the infographics. So this is what they published today.
Yeah.
So as you can see, Australia's up to 5,908 coronavirus cases, 45 deaths, 2,547 cases recovered.
Okay.
And it's got the current cases intensive care units. So most are in New South Wales, but only 93 in ICU. That's pretty good. 305 admitted to hospital. We've conducted 310,700 tests, 1.9% positive. We lead the world now in tests per capita. This is interesting here, cases by age group and sex. Have you noticed how it's only male and females that are getting the coronavirus? There's no non-binary breakdown.
Yeah.
But it's 20 to 29-year-olds. They're the demographic that are getting the most coronavirus cases. More women.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, women are getting it more than men in that age group as well.
Yeah.
Probably ethos using TikTok. They'll do anything for attention, especially them. They use the Chinese app TikTok. They lick toilet seats, doorbells. Some will even lick, groceries. They'll lick essentials, and they'll do all of that for views. Yeah, it just disgusts me. It's no wonder they get the coronavirus, and they can't resist going out to the beach to get a suntan, even though it's getting a bit colder here in Australia, because it's autumn and it'll be the winter season soon. Yeah,
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Anyone who watches us is in this chat. If you're on TikTok, get the fuck off it. It is owned by the Chinese.
Yes.
You wonder sort of like this is a more absurd theory I've come up with about the coronavirus, that they've wanted to spread it to the West, so we're all forced into lockdown, and so we start using this Chinese TikTok app, and so China has access to all of our videos and lives and is able to document our personalities and everything.
And they are about moral degradation, especially those in the West. And towards our women, stay off TikTok. I'd rather put my car up against an exhaust pipe rather than get on TikTok. Stay away from that. That's how bad it is.
Facebook is better than TikTok. I'd rather you still be on Facebook using Facebook than on TikTok.
Yeah, at least until you get kicked off if you say something offensive.
Yeah.
Just going back to finishing this infographic here. It's got the sources, cases by sources of infection. So the dark blue is overseas acquired. So that is where most of 65% of cases. But there you have the locally acquired, which is in the light blue, and which is contact with a confirmed case. But then the turquoise, the greenish blue, that is locally acquired, contact not identified. So that's what they call community transmission. But the daily number of reported cases, this is what they're talking about. See, the curve peaked here about March 28th, and then it's got significantly lower and was less than 100 today.
Yeah. The things it's sort of. Do you reckon it's being stabilized, or do you reckon it's getting higher?
I think it is.
Judging by these statistics.
Well, they Scott Morrison in his press conference today said that complacency is something we can't afford at the moment, and I think we've talked about the civil liberties violations with the lockdown restrictions. Because we know that when the state and the police get more powers, they're reluctant to give them up. And if we continue to flatten that curve, we're going to be asking and demanding that these restrictions be lifted. But then you can sort of see that, we can't afford to be complacent. We can't afford to relax them. We better keep them in place just a few weeks longer. So that's my sort of concern, that we might get into this sort of, would you would call it no man's land, where it's getting better. It's always getting better, but if we lift them, then it might just shoot back up again.
Well, yeah, it's the best Scott Morrison, and it's the best he can do. I mean, I don't completely agree with him, not at all. I think he's a bit too soft, and he's a bit piss weak and a bit too moderate, but he's making good decisions, like here and there. Just sometimes though, he's average. So right now though, he's doing a fine job, all things considering, during the virus and that. And I reckon people in the meantime, sure, if their freedoms are being very limited, which they are right now, and we're all sick of it. We can't see our mates. We can't, either have parties with our families. We can't catch up, do the things that we were going to plan to, go out on holidays. We're just going to have to put up with it for the time being, and we're going to have to listen to what the Prime Minister has to say for the time being, because he is working on it. And you just got other politicians out there that are just going to talk about their own ideologies. They're going to talk about, they're just attention seekers.
It's going to be a bit of, it's going to be a bit of uprisings and all that going on. So,
yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm just concerned that eventually it's going to get out of hand. But it's a new world. There's been a lot of drastic change. You see the change. You see the difference. Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing we can do about it at the moment. We don't control the government. The government controls us. That's what makes it scarier, though. We don't know what they're doing or what they're talking about. But we have to put up with it. We just have to follow suit. Unfortunately, it's the only way. It's a pandemic.
So, last question before we wrap up. Senator Slayer, I agree with Johnny Moore. Trannies are freaks. What do you think about people who lay in bed with them while doing videos? Are you talking about, what is it, the tranny porn, Senator Slayer there? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I'll give you a chance to answer that, Johnny.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for that imagery, mate. Now I think about two girls in one cup, and oh my God.
Well, they were biological women, those in that movie.
Oh yeah, but transgenders? Imagine that. Imagine that, mate. Oh man, I'm gonna need therapy. I'm gonna need therapy after this. As soon as we get off, I'm gonna pass out.
Well, that is the Uncuckables experience. Well, thank you for entering the uncucked zone tonight, Johnny. The audience certainly liked meeting you, and in other cases, seeing you back on our screens. And of course, thank you as always, Reg, for joining me on a Tuesday night.
Cheers, mate. God bless you, and God bless everyone.
God save the Queen.
And
Amen.
I'll be back tomorrow night with another episode of Wilmsfront, 7 p.m. Melbourne time, on the new Wilmsfront channel, because to get back on Entropy, I had to move my channel from a personal channel to a brand channel. So it's now the Wilmsfront channel, but I'll get to interact with you on Entropy again. And then after that, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time, it's Dear Beltran Live. She's got her guest E. Michael Jones, the famous editor of Culture Wars magazine. So it's been a pretty big week for guests in the Australian alt media, because we just had James with Mark Collette tonight, and then tomorrow Dia's got E. Michael Jones, and then of course Thursday night another edition of the Uncuckables, same time, same channel, myself, David Hiscock, and either James Fox Higgins or Maddie Rose.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the questions and the super chats. We'll see you next show.
And the funny questions sent to the Slayer. So
yeah.
See you later, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you and good night.
The Uncuckables.